Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this inside slider card. I've actually made a Christmas version too. So obviously it's the same concept, but today I'm going to show you how to make this birthday one. So without further delay, let me get started and bring in the ingredients. It's a piece of cardstock that is 11 by 4 1/4 scored at 5.5. That's our good old standard, fits in an envelope size, makes a card. And then I took a 6 by 6 piece of designer series paper. Now this is actually Delightful Florals, which is a 12 by 12, but of course you can cut it into 4 6 by 6 pieces. So it's I cut a 2-inch strip across the bottom, and then I cut that down so it was 2 inches by 5.5, so it will fit across the bottom of the card. So there is a little 1/2-inch slither somewhere in my craft room. And then the 4-inch piece, the piece that's 4 inches deep, I cut it at 4.5, which left 1.5 for the other side. So that is your 6 by 6 piece of designer series paper. And then the 4.5 across by 4 deep, I scored it 1 inch at each end. So I scored it at 1 inch and 3.5 inches. So that's the piece that slides in the middle. Then I needed a piece of basic white, and this is 8.5, and it's 7/8, 3/4. As long as it's not too skinny mini, it has to support the sliding mechanism. And it's scored at 1/2 inch and at 4.5 inches. So we're just going to fold that up and then fold this over. And what it needs to do is fit onto one of these edges. So you just have to make sure that your piece isn't too long, that it can be seen when it's folded over. This one is actually, looks like it's just making it. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of extra foldy overness, because I don't want to spoil the whole look of the card for the sake of an 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch, and just trim that little bit extra. So it's a guideline then, 8.5, scored at 1/2 inch. It depends where it fits in the paper trough. We've discussed that a few times before. The front is a piece of Berry Burst, almost couldn't remember the name there. And this is 3 by 2 3/4, and the basic white layer is 2 3/4 by 2.5. And that I then fussy cutted one of the flowers out of the big sheet of the Delightful Florals that will go onto the front. And last but not least, we've got the slidey inside piece, and this is 5 1/4, so it's the 1/4 inch smaller, but it has to fit through the sliding thing, which is 4 inches. So I just cut it down to be 3 7/8. And then you can just make sure that it will actually slide, because it has to do that inside the card. So that's all the ingredients. As always, of course, they'll all be on my blog, so you don't have to frantically write it down or rewind the video or anything. So without further delay, let's get started. So I am going to put the inside piece first. So it's scored 1 inch from each end, and I'm going to butt it right up against the fold line of the inside of the card. But there's going to be a little bit of pulling, so you can either do it with tear and tape, or you can do it with the Tombow liquid glue. And today I'm going to use the glue. So you just want to put glue down the 1 inch section, butt it up against the side, make sure it's equal at the top and the bottom, and then close it onto the card. So when you lift it up, it's going to fold over. Then what we need to do is make this little sliding piece a pocket. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on the top 1/2 inch section and close that flat. And then this piece, needs to go on the back of this other piece. So we know it's going to fit size wise. Again, we just have to make sure that the basic white slider section will go through it and move freely. If it doesn't, you can just slice off a slither off the top. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to glue this into here. So I'm going to put the glue down the white piece because it's the smaller of the two pieces, and I'm going to put it just up against the fold line of this here. So whoops, one of the nice things about the liquid glue is you've got a little moment to try and move things, but then one of the hazards of the liquid glue is if it has a mind of its own and it tries to move, it will. Let me just make sure I get the glue off there. So now we've got this piece stuck down to the inside of the card, and we've got the pocket, the slider sleeve on the other side. So now what we need to do is, while that's drying, I am going to build the front of the card with a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to bring in the Berry Burst ink, and the stamps I'm using today have come from Simply Said. So I'm going to be using Birthday Wishes on the inside and Let's Celebrate on the outside. So we'll go ahead and stamp Let's Celebrate and attach that just with regular rolling adhesive to the Berry Burst piece. I'm not going to attach everything yet because I want to put dimensionals on. And if you can stick something down without a piece with dimensions on it, it's just quicker and easier. So that should be dry now. And what we're going to do is we are going to slide this piece into that little pocket and move it up so it butts up against the inside fold of the card, so it can move like that. And then this piece will go over the side. So I'm just going to place these where they would be because I want to stamp the greeting in the middle, but I want to make sure I'm stamping it in the right place. So we'll bring the ink back in and we'll bring the Birthday Wishes, and we pretty much know that's the center of the area that's going to be exposed. So we are good. Now, this piece is going to slide backwards and forwards. We know this is butted up against the back side of the card. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift this up and put some adhesive underneath. It doesn't need to be an awful lot because this piece is actually going to anchor everything down. It will be stuck securely. So while we're doing that, let's go ahead and anchor everything down securely. So we're just going to put this over as a layer, and then we know that everything slides, or everything should slide. Sometimes if this lifts up and stops it sliding, what I did was I took a glue dot. It doesn't need to really be stuck down. It just needs to be reminded that it needs to sort of lie flat. So I'm just going to take one glue dot and put it down inside here. Whoops. Stuck it to myself. Not a great move. Let me get another one. So sticky side down, I'm just going to put it on this little white piece here, just in the top corner. And when we peel the backing off, it will hold that flat. So now it will flow smoothly and fold flat. I don't know why it isn't folding flat. This is a little bit annoying. I know why, because this wasn't laid flat in the first place. So there we go. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of tweaking. So make sure that your cardstock is against the back. It goes all the way over to the side, and then it will flow backwards and forwards. So like I say, all the directions and dimensions will be on my blog, and it will help guide you with all the sizes and everything. So what we need to do now is stick this piece of 5.5 by 2, which was the other piece of the 6x6 square of designer series paper, and put it across. If you've got any overhang, which I can see mine has, it's just got that little slither, you can just bring your snips in, cut that hair's breadth out of the way, and then we can stick this onto the front, and then once that's placed flat, we can bring back in the dimensionals and pop these in. And I'm going to put one over here where it's a little bit skinnier, so I'm just going to use one of the edge pieces of the dimensionals that I have. It doesn't have to be a whole one every time. And even though they're hexagons, to try and maximize the space between them, it does come to the edge and needs a little bit extra. So we'll pop those on. And then last but not least, I'm actually going to use the lavender, the purple fine shimmer gems, which goes with the perennial lavender suite. But I found that they coordinated quite nicely. So we'll put a big dark purple and a smaller light purple over there. And then this red coordinates quite nicely with the berry burst. So that's quite lucky. And then we've got the set. So now it opens. Same as this one. Bring back in the Christmas one so you can see how that one works. I love that this little leaf coordinates with the leaves on the ornament. So there you have it. 3 the same. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate those. As I say, all the directions and dimensions will be on my blog. If you've got any questions or comments, pop those in the description box below and I'll always get back to you. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.